Roy Williams is a marketing man. His clients want to buy whatever advertising sells the most product.
It's Rick Dees in the morning. All communication should be poetic. Bring him in, please. Roy Williams!
Essential to any company is the ability to get your message out. My guest says, don't give up hope. Joining me now is Roy Williams.
Yes, so how do you speak in poetry to people and get them to do things you want them to do?
Here to talk about the advantages of radio advertising is the author of a new book called The Wizard of Ads.
Joining me is Roy Williams. Today we're talking about his book, Secret Formulas of the Wizard of Ads. This is one of the most important books that anybody can read.
What makes people do the things they do? More importantly, how can we get people to do what we want them to do? With another part of the answer to that question, here's the Wizard of Ads, Roy H. Williams.
We're going to talk about branding. Now, I have to tell this story, but I was researching to include a chapter on branding in my book, Secret Formulas of the Wizard of Ads, and I'm flying home from Chicago during that window of time. And seated next to me was a woman who worked at a very large computer company. And I knew this because it is my custom and my habit when I sit down on a plane to turn to the person next to me and say, are you headed to work or are you headed home? And then they usually tell me one or the other, and I say where I'm headed, and then that's the end of the conversation. I read my book, they read theirs, but we've kind of broken the ice. In this case, I said, you headed to work or you headed home? And she said, well, I'm headed home. And I said, me too. She said, yep. I work for, she named the computer company. I said, oh, really? That's a great company. She said, yep, I'm in the marketing department. I said, really? She said, yep. I've been up in Chicago at the unveiling of the new $14 million branding campaign that our ad firm has created for our new line of servers. Well, now I closed my book, put it in the little pocket in the seat in front of me, and I said, oh, really, branding? What is that exactly? And she said, and I'm not making this up, quote, evidently, branding has something to do with always using the same three colors in all of your brochures and magazine ads and product packaging. And I said, same three colors, huh? Yeah. Well, I stood up in the aisle, as I'm prone to do. As a matter of fact, if you ever hear stories about some horrible, tacky, rude thing that Roy Williams did, I'm probably guilty as charged. And I'm not proud of that, but these things just come over me. And I jumped up in the aisle and I said, ma'am, do you see this right here? She said, yes, please sit down. And I said, no, you need to learn this move because very soon you're going to go back and you're going to gather everybody together from the whole company and you're going to take them out on the lawn and you're going to teach them this move because very soon you're all going to line up on the seashore and wave goodbye to your $14 million as it floats away over the horizon on the tide of stupidity. And ma'am, I mean that in the nicest possible way. Now, I want you to remember the mental image that I used to describe to her what was going to happen to her $14 million. And I said, by the way, what's your background? How did you get into marketing? She said, well, actually, I'm an electrical engineer. They just put me in marketing. I learned two things. Yes, most companies do assume that marketing is just creativity. Just get one of them creative people. It's kind of creative. Put them in there. And if you really stink as an engineer, but you're a nice person, they'll stick you in marketing. And is that a pretty accurate assumption? I think probably so. I'm thinking to myself, this is why most marketing in America sucks like a Hoover. It's why it is so utterly counterproductive. It's why it's so incredibly stupid and ill-advised. Now, she said, you really don't think it's going to work? And I said, oh, no, I don't think it's not going to work. I know it's not going to work. She said, why? This is a reputable ad firm. And I'm sitting here thinking, yeah, what career did they wash out of to get stuck in marketing? And I mean that in the nicest possible way. Now, branding. What is branding really? And do you know who won the Nobel Prize for discovering branding? The Nobel Prize for discovering it? in 1904? Ivan Pavlov. Remember the story of Pavlov and his dog? Pavlov rubbed meat paste on the tongue of a dog and rang a bell. And he did this day after day after day after day until the dog began to associate the sound of the bell with the taste of the meat. Now, you've heard the term conditioned response. Forget that term. The term is branding. Now, when the dog began to associate the sound of the bell to the taste of meat, all Pavlov had to do was ring the bell. The dog would begin to salivate even though there was no meat. Congratulations, branding is born. Now let's look at the three elements that create branding. Branding is simply this. In psychological terms, it is the implantation of an associative memory. The implantation of an associative memory. Pavlov implanted a memory of the taste of meat, and he associated it with the sound of the bell. He implanted an associative memory in combination with a recall cue. Now, what is an associative memory? Well, a spoonful of sugar makes the medicine go down. Everybody's sitting there, I'm singing, everybody's like bobbing their head in unison. You're singing it silently in your mind. In a large crowd, I'll very often ask, how many people are thinking of Mary Poppins right now? Now, I didn't say that phrase with the cadence or the rhythm or the melody that it's sung in the movie, just a spoonful of sugar helps the medicine go down. All you have to do is say a spoonful of sugar, and 2/3 of all Americans will immediately be thinking of Julie Andrews with an umbrella flying across London as Mary Poppins. That is an example of an associative memory. You see, an associative memory is simply a memory which has become linked to another memory. Our job in advertising, if we understand it, is to create such associations, to link certain memories to other memories, so that when your prospective customer has need of your product or service, that the memory is triggered and they immediately think of you and of your product and of your service because it's associated to that need. Create the link so that your advertiser is the one they think of first and the one they feel the best about. Now, what's a recall cue? It's a mental trigger. A recall cue is a mental trigger that will prompt a reader, listener, or viewer to take a prescribed action at an appointed time. How is the action prescribed? It's something they have seen themselves do in their imagination. The human creature can take no action until they have seen themselves do it in their mind. You want to cause them to see themselves taking the action you want them to take. You want them to see it in their mind, and you want to associate that memory to the name of your advertiser, his product or service. Is this beginning to make sense? Now, there are 3 keys, as I said before, to implanting such associative memories into the mind. Everyone gets the first 2 keys instinctively. Everyone misses the 3rd one.